This is lesson 3-8, evaluating expressions. Our central question, how can you use the order of operations to evaluate expressions with decimals? So if you forgot the order of operations, you need to revisit your journal or look that up again. Remember, it's parentheses, and we're going to talk about something new today too, which is brackets, then exponents, and then multiply or divide, whichever comes first, and then add or subtract, whichever comes first. No vocab for this lesson. Alright, example number 1, we have parentheses, so we do that first. We have 6 and 7/10 minus 3 1/10 in parentheses. So I'm going to line that up over here. Remember, when you subtract, you have to line up your decimals. It's the same thing when you add. So bring your decimals straight down. 7 minus 1 is 6, and 6 minus 3 is 3. So remember, we like to cross out what we've done and replace it with our new answer and rewrite. So we have 5 5/10 plus 3 6/10. So again, we're going to line those up. And we're going to add. First, we're going to bring that decimal straight down. 5 plus 6 is 11. 5 plus 3 is 8, plus 1 more is 9. So our answer is 9 1/10. Example number 2, we have a variable, and we have to plug in a number for the variable, just like we learned in topic 2. So we have to do that in our parentheses, which comes first. So we have 8 2/10 plus x. Over here it tells us what x is. It's 5 3/10. So I line those up, bring my decimal down, and add. 2 plus 3 is 5. 8 plus 5 is 13. Cross that out, and I'm going to rewrite. 13 5/10 times 3 2/10. And I'm going to do that over here. 13 5/10 times 3 2/10. Now when we multiply, we do not have to line up our decimals. It just so happened that it worked out that they lined up in this case, but you do not have to do that. You just multiply like normal, and then we move over the decimal. So we're just going to multiply. So we have 5 times 2 is 10. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7, and 2 times 1 is 2. Put 0 there as my placeholder. 3 times 5 is 15. I already have my 1 up there. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 is 10. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. Add that up. And then now I have to put in my decimal. And the way I do that, think back to the lesson on multiplying decimals, is you have to see how many decimal places you have to move in both of your numbers that you're multiplying. So in 13 5/10 I have 1 decimal place, and 3 2/10 I have 1 decimal place. So altogether that's 2 decimal places. So that's how many I move in my answer. 1, 2. So my answer is 43 20/100, or 43 2/10, same thing. Okay, example number 3. Now you see brackets. So these things right here are brackets. And they're kind of just like parentheses. You have to do whatever's in the brackets before you do anything outside of the brackets. So we would have to do all of this before we add 1 8/10. So we still follow the order of operations inside the bracket. So we still do 7 3/10 plus 3 6/10 first, because that's in parentheses. So I'm going to do that down here. I'm going to line them up. Remember, when you add, you have to line up decimals, bring it straight down, and then add. 3 plus 6 is 9. 7 plus 3 is 10. So we have 10 and 9/10. So I can cross that out and write that up here. Now I still have to do what's in brackets. So now I have 10 and 9/10 minus 4 and 7/10. I lined up my decimals. Bring your decimal straight down. Subtract. 9 minus 7 is 2. 10 minus 4 is 6. So now I have, for this whole part, I have 6 and 2/10. So now I'm on to the last part, which is 6 and 2/10 plus 1 and 8/10. Line up your decimals, bring it straight down. 8 plus 2 is 10. 6 plus 1 plus another 1 is 8. So my answer is 8. Example number 4. I have brackets and I have a variable. So I'm going to have several steps here. I'm going to just rewrite my whole problem with 7 and 3/10 in place of y. So I have my brackets. I have 11 and 2/10 plus 8 and 9/10, end parentheses, minus. Now instead of y, I'm going to put 7 and 3/10 plus, now I just write the rest of it, 9 and 6/10, parentheses, brackets. Okay, so I do, actually this whole problem is in brackets, so I just am going to do the whole thing, but I'm going to follow the order of operations within the brackets. So I would do this parentheses first, because it comes first. So I have 11 and 2/10 plus 8 and 9/10. Bring your decimal down. And then add. 9 plus 2 is 11. 8 plus 2 is 10. And then 1 plus 1 is 2. So now in place of this, I have 20 and 1/10. Now I do the second part of my parentheses. So now I have 7 and 3/10 plus 9 and 6/10. Bring your decimal down. 6 plus 3 is 9. 9 plus 7 is 16. So this part is 16 and 9/10. And now I have the operation of subtraction. So 20 and 1/10 minus 16 and 9/10. This 1 becomes an 11. This becomes a 9. And my 2 becomes a 1. Bring my decimal straight down, and then I can subtract. So I end up with 3 and 2/10 as my answer. So you're just following the same order of operations, but now you have to remember to line up your decimals when you add or subtract. When you multiply like normal. And you see how many places you have to move over in each of your numbers, and then move over that many places in your answer. And then if you divide, if you have a decimal in your dividend, you just bring it straight up. If you have a decimal in your divisor, you have to move it over to the right until it's gone. And however many places you move it in your divisor, you have to move it that many places in your dividend. Okay, here are your practice problems following the order of operations. The first one has a variable, and they gave you the value for x. Don't forget to write your word problem or question and rate your understanding.